Great. Thank you for that. So, everyone, again, welcome back. Just a quick note about us for newcomers. We are PRIZ Innovation Platform. It's a SaaS platform, online platform that built to accelerate ideation and innovation processes through systematic problem solving. And last time we talked about perception mapping. Today we're gonna dive into something that everybody potentially knows, hopefully knows. It's a brainstorming, and as we will call it in the future, today in the presentation, it's actually effective brainstorming. We'll explain why. Now, as usual, we start with a quote, and in this case, the quote is, "I don't like doing things that are too easy." Now, the thing is with brainstorming, like we will dive into in a moment, the thing with brainstorming that a lot of people like it, and one of the reasons it seems easy, but then the question is it? Before we go there, I want to start with a little bit of history of brainstorming. Brainstorming was introduced first, not even introduced, but popularized by Alex Osborne in 1953 in one of his books that was published in 1953. And he actually started working on creative problem solving in early 30s, but basically on his own. He was advertising professional, and he was trying to solve one of the problems he was trying to solve is how to get more and more ideas and more creative ideas and get people to think creatively and actually tell about their ideas within a group. So he came up with this framework called brainstorming, and he had only two principles, and this is where we're talking about easy. If you look at you're welcome to look up the Wikipedia page about brainstorming, where it's all described, and you will find out that the diagram that put together about the brainstorming, about the process of brainstorming, is anything but easy. It's actually a fairly complex diagram, but all the rules that embedded into that, and what people think brainstorming usually is something easy, just throw ideas in there, that's it. It's not. It's not what it used to be, and not what it intended to be from the very beginning. One of the things that he defined in the brainstorming is a couple of principles. First of all is deferred judgment. And basically what that means, doesn't matter what somebody says within a group, don't judge them. Otherwise you will restrain them to not tell anything ever again within that group session. And the other principle is reach for quantity. And basically that means the more ideas, the better. Doesn't matter what. And the intention of these two principles were to, first of all, reduce social inhibitions. Again, what I just said a moment ago, make people not being constrained within their thoughts and express their thoughts and express their ideas. Stimulate idea generation. That's important, especially when it's happening, when it is within a group.
They were brainstorming. Weiß nicht,
Yeah. Thomas? Thomas, you were saying something? Okay. So stimulate ideas generation within a group. And of course, as a result of all that is increase overall creativity of the group. Now, in order to achieve all of that, he came up with 4 rules. One of them is, again, go for quantity. Doesn't matter what. And by the way, some of our clients that we were making a demo for, they also working a lot on training, and they were given us examples where some of their brainstorming sessions generated 1,400 ideas, which is quite crazy number. They did it within an organization, a pretty large organization, but still 1,400 ideas within a single session. Second rule is withhold criticism. What I just mentioned just a second ago, withholding criticism. Doesn't matter what anybody says, don't criticize them. Welcome wild ideas. You know, any crazy ideas are good. Doesn't matter what, we can analyze them later and actually you know, decide if they too crazy later in the game. And of course, when we're combining these ideas, we can improve them and generate even new ones. And somebody who used to be in the brainstorming sessions, you know, many times the brainstorming session starts very, very slow, and then somebody says something, and it over time it starts heating up. And this is what really for people, it's much easier to express their ideas when they hear somebody else also expressing their ideas, and it's not that big of a deal, and everything is recorded. So, what is brainstorming by definition? Brainstorming is creativity technique of generating ideas to solve a particular problem. Now, that's a very shortened definition, but the key here is a group, generating ideas, and to solve problems. Of course, the brainstorming is to collect, the exercise of brainstorming is collecting these ideas, evaluating them, deciding what to do next. And the topics for these, where the brainstorming is useful, is basically almost everything. Almost any problem that we're trying to solve, we can use brainstorming if we have a group of people who work on it. And some of the examples we listed here, like troubleshooting an equipment or process, you know, process yield improvement, process cost reduction, and so on. And it's overall a really strong team building exercise, especially right now that we're working a lot in a remote environment. Now, let's try to answer the question, why brainstorming is so popular. And one of the things is, like a title here, what we've seen, what we learn is that it is popular because of the fact that people think it's easy to use. Now, there are two reasons for this popularity, really. People believe that it's effective, and it is true. Again, back to that example of 1,400 ideas, it is effective. It's a very powerful creative thinking tool. It's great. Now, the other, I would say, it's a little bit of misconception. It's easy to use, and basically it's an easy way to success. While it is, we still need to know how to use it. And the tool is just as good as we use it, really. Like any other tool, like even a hammer, we need to know how to use it. We need to have the required skill to do that. Only then and only then we can get somewhat good results. Because imagine yourself the same 1,400 ideas. If you choose the wrong idea, it's actually a pretty painful failure. It could be very expensive, especially within the organization when it's a critical problem that you need to solve. Choosing the wrong idea and actually trying to run after the wrong idea for implementation could be super expensive. Now, how do we brainstorm? And there's really two steps. First of all, we generate and collect ideas. Same for the rules that Alex Osborne defined way back then. Is the more the better. And the second one is, once we have all of these ideas, now we need to choose the best one or a collection of best ones. It doesn't have to be a single idea. Many times solutions constructed out of out of number of ideas. Again, it's back to the combination, combine and improve ideas. Now, while we do that, there are two main challenges that we need to solve. First of all, it's basically how do we generate the relevant ideas, right? And we need to apply creative thinking. And in creative thinking, many times it is the brainstorming tools, and many out there, of course, it's boards, it's just sticky notes on the board if we're sitting in the same room. It is still creative thinking. And the idea is to use the relevant tool. And the second one, which is in my mind much more critical actually, is how to make a reasonable choice. Now you generate hundreds of ideas, even tens of ideas. How do you choose which one to pursue? And the answer is pretty much the same. Apply creative thinking, use relevant tools. And this is what we're going to be demoing today and talking about today. Now, the brainstorming process that we propose in PRIZ platform. Now, I want to ask, first of all, your opinion. What do you need to actually effectively or somewhat effectively generate and collect relevant ideas when you're working on some problem?
Define what is the problem, where is the pain.
Exactly. So we need to actually concentrate our thinking, the group thinking, around the relevant subject, right? And what it means in the case of the PRIZ platform, it means we need to set up the problem, the project. We need to define what the problem is. We need to define that problem space that we're talking about, right? And then the group who is working on the problem, they have it in front of their eyes all the time. They can think within this context and not diversion to some crazy, not necessarily crazy, but not relevant areas to that particular problem. So we need to concentrate on that particular problem. What we do next, we need to prioritize ideas and make decisions. And here I also want to ask, I'm sure a majority of you were part of brainstorming sessions one day or another. How would you do that? What was usually the process of evaluating what to choose, which ideas going forward, which one are thrown away eventually? Right. And usually every time I personally was in brainstorming sessions, every time it was some other approach. Of course, any approach is great. What we propose in here is a structured approach of, first of all, grouping the ideas according to implementation and validation difficulties. And what that means, if you think about any idea, there's two apologies. There's two things that we proposing to look at. How hard is it to implement? And what does it mean? It could be that, in order to even try and evaluate a particular idea, we need to spend a week or months, maybe half a year to even implement that. But the validation is immediate. Once we finish that implementation, validation is immediate. We see the result right then and there. Great. There is also another way around. We can say, okay, the implementation is actually quite simple and quite fast. I apologize, I will just. Apologies. There's also can be the other way around, that the implementation is quite simple, it's pretty fast, but waiting for that final result is not that fast, not that simple, or maybe there is a testing involved that needs to verify that result, and so on. So we grouping it by implementation, whether it's easy or not, and validation, whether it's easy or not. Next, within each group, we still might have a pretty large group of ideas. We rank these ideas and getting a certain result. So just to emphasize and just give it a little bit of a glimpse, of course, we're going to dive into that within the example. We have a project. We're creating a project, and some of you who've been in the previous webinars, you've probably seen that. You've probably seen this project already. We trying to use exactly the same one. But of course, we're creating a project. We have a project overview, have the project details, and this is what we're talking about: start getting people into the zone of the problem space, right? Next, of course, we're defining problem statement. It's a next step of making and deciding as a group what is the actual problem that we're going to try to solve. Then the board comes. The board. It's the same board that many companies, many tools out there have. We collecting ideas as much as possible, throwing them into the board for what? To analyze them later. And the result, and we'll go through this exercise exactly, the result of that is grouped ideas, and the green area here is the ones that easy to implement and easy to validate. It's like the low-hanging fruit out there. And of course, the red ones is hard implementation, hard validation. You know, if nothing else works, then we will potentially exercise these. And as we will see in the example, these ones are already ranked within the group. So of course, the ones that with the highest ranking, we should attempt first. We should try first. Now, in PRIZ effective brainstorming, it's one of the available tools in our tool collection, 1 out of 10. And if there is no other questions, I will move to the demo. All right. Great. So for people who haven't seen the platform yet, again, it's a SaaS platform available online. The access available from our website. The login is simple through different ways, so Google, LinkedIn, or email and password. And everything is organized in projects, in form of projects. Every problem, as we're saying, every problem is always should be worked and kept within the scope of a project. This is a project that we're using in the past, the one that also in the presentation. And in this case, for people who are new here, we're trying to solve the problem that particles left on a wafer. Of course, just repeating myself from the last times, we have the full description of what we're seeing, how people traditionally solve this problem, and any information that can help us to stay within the context of the problem. Of course, the problem statement, we didn't change it from the last times, but it's already defined, and we're trying to use it as is because the problem haven't changed. In this case, the current situation is defects are found on the surface of the wafer after washing the chemistry, and even after washing with chemistry and rinsing with water. There's a number of different disadvantages that it generates, that it creates. And then the problem statement, and basically the problem that we actually trying to solve here is this: defects remaining on the wafer surface after a wet cleaning process steps, and of course success criteria. We have several tools that we already used from our last webinars, and in this case, we will actually start from very fresh from creative brainstorming. So creative brainstorming, like many other tools, we have the space that's called subject. And subject, like we described in one of the slides, is this is what we're gonna address. This is what we're gonna analyze as part of this tool. It could be pictures, it could be descriptions, it could be diagrams, whatever helps us thinking about a particular problem, or about a particular space. We can put it in here. We did prepare for that, so so bear with us.
No, we can add. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, let's add that. And I would need your help with that today, Anatoly. So the problem space, the subject that we're trying to analyze, is the particles are staying on the wafer surface. Oops. Even after the wet cleaning process. Again, we can expand this as much as we want, but then what we're trying to find here is the list, is kind of brainstorming ideas why they're staying there and how we can solve it.
Alex, maybe it would be good to take a picture from our overview and place here.
Sure, we can do that.
Yeah, picture. Yeah, this one. Yeah.
Sure.
Just to explain, very easy. Wafer rotates, and chemistry is poured from.
We can do that.
Just poured on the rotated wafer. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Very good. So.
Okay. So again, particles are staying on the surface of the wafer after wet cleaning process. Okay. Anything else we want to add in here?
Well, actually, I don't know. Do you have questions? It's very, very trivial situation. Yeah, it's just washing wafer with chemistry.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So the board for ideas, of course, we're starting with a clean board, as you would do in a conference room. We have a clean board, we have sticky notes, and people start generating ideas and putting it on a board and collecting them in one big pile. So let's start doing that.
Okay, I would propose try to reduce rotation rate. In this case,
rotation rate.
In this case, chemistry will remain longer time on the wafer. And next one may be check and adjust the pressure of chemistry.
The pressure, oops, pressure of chemistry.
Yeah. Maybe it would be good to replace filter.
Replace filter. I think there is something with temperature.
Well, yeah, I would take okay, temperature. Adjust temperature.
Check and adjust temperature.
You know, maybe replace pump. Maybe
Mhm.
pump is a problem.
Replace pump.
No, you're not writing.
Oops, sorry. Replace the pump.
Uh, yeah. Maybe we can check and change spec limits. Audit and
Check and update
spec limits.
spec.
Mhm. Maybe increase time of the cleaning. Cleaning time. Okay. You know, after cleaning, we have rinsing with water. Maybe we should increase rinsing time.
Okay.
Maybe one filter is not good enough. We can add another filter. Add a filter.
Okay.
You know, we have air flow within the chamber, and maybe we need to adjust clean air pressure.
Okay. Clean air pressure.
Let's try to increase temperature of rinsing water. It's typically
Is it the same as the check and adjust temperature?
Temperature of chemistry, and this please add.
Okay.
This is a chemistry, and this is a rinsing.
Of chemistry.
And this is a rinsing water.
Adjust
Rinsing water, temperature of rinsing water.
Water.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it's good enough. Or if you want to add some. Maybe
guys,
train, you know, train people, train staff.
Okay.
Additionally, train and qualify staff.
Train stuff. Okay.
Maybe someone wants to add something, guys. Okay, well, we can start to work.
Yeah. Now, so we collected all of these ideas, and now we can say, okay, as we mentioned before, we need to group them. So every node in this in this scenario, every node will have two additional parameters, and here is implementation and validation, ease of implementation and validation. So to train stuff, is it easy to implement? Probably not so much.
Not so much, yeah.
Is it easy to validate?
Not so.
I would say not so much.
Not so much. Maybe it's great idea.
Yeah, it is a great
I'm
idea.
sorry.
Regardless.
White paper with fleet. Have you seen comment chat?
I think it's coming from the browser. Yeah. Okay, reduce rotation rate. Okay, I think it's fairly easy to implement, and also easy to verify.
Right.
Adjust temperature of water, of rinsing water. I believe also pretty easy to implement, and also pretty easy to verify the results.
Yeah.
Okay, we have check and update specs. Implementation, I'm not sure in this particular process how easy is it.
Let's say it's easy implement. No, it's not easy.
It's not easy implementation,
but
probably
probably easy to validate. Yeah, we can see results relatively fast.
Replace filters. I would believe that in these scenarios, filters are
easy
not so
and easy. No.
Oh, it is easy?
Replace. It's easy. Yeah.
Okay. Increase cleaning time, definitely easy.
Mhm.
It's just adjusting the time and probably same for validation. The result are pretty immediate.
Mhm.
Check and adjust pressure of chemistry.
I would say not so easy.
Not so easy to implement. Again, I'm
Mm.
a little bit outside of that industry, so for me, hard to
And
evaluate that.
and also it takes time to collect statistics. Yeah.
Okay. Replacing pump,
Not easy. Not easy.
not easy, but
But we
probably
can.
easy to
Yeah. But
verify.
easy. Yeah. To verify. Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
Adjust temperature of chemistry in this case.
It's not easy because to change chemistry, we should understand how to do it right. But we will
Okay.
see fast result.
Okay, great.
I would say not easy and not easy here.
Not easy, and then not easy. Adjust clean air pressure.
Very easy,
Mhm.
but takes time to get to
To
validate.
get the results.
Yeah. Mhm.
And increase rinsing time.
Yeah.
That sounds like easy
Easy. Yeah.
and easy to verify as well.
All right.
Okay, great. So now we have all of these ideas grouped. But what does it mean group? Let's actually put them in a group. Okay, so the tool allows us to take all of these ideas that we just assigned their ease of implementation and ease of validation and put them into actual visual groups so we can look at them look at them separate. Now, what's next?
Again and again, it's important that it doesn't mean that some ideas better and some worse. Just
No, everything is
just
good.
separate it in groups. Nothing wasn't there.
You know, one of these things is like, what's the effort? Especially managers like to ask, what's the effort? How much it's going to cost? You know, how difficult is it? When is it going to be ready? That's the kind of questions that we usually are trying to answer in the industry.
Alex, you know, we can pick up maybe adjust temperature and reading water into implement easy and not easy to validate because it takes time.
Okay.
Oh,
so we can do that. Again, once we in the world of groups, excuse me, in the world of grouped ideas, we can start moving the nodes, and this is also where the group discussion potentially happens. People fight over their ideas, you know, trying to prove it's something easy. Somebody, you know, did change a filter 50 times already. For him, it's, you know, nothing. For somebody else, it's quite hard because he never did it. Okay, so again, it's a group discussion, it's a group work where it's very important to engage the entire group as well, and it is a group exercise. Next we have, for example, these four ideas. Oops, these four ideas. So how are we gonna, you know, decide which one to start? If you remember the round robin ranking that which we talked about in last webinars, or we touched about this in the last webinars. The round robin ranking is something that is integrated in many tools in the PRIZ innovation platform. And it's something that helps us to compare and make a choice between 3 or more options. And again, the concept is, I'm just repeating myself from the last time, the concept there is to be able to compare in pairs versus look at the entire pile of these items, these different options, and try to decide which one is more important, which one should I try first, which one is, you know, which one do I want more. regardless of what the option is. So same here, we can choose and say, okay, I want to rank. And as you can see in here, we're allowing to rank different groups. I want to rank, for example, group that implementation is easy and validation is easy. So let's do that. In this case, we have 6 pairs to compare. So again, let's see, increase cleaning time, increase rinsing time.
I would take cleaning time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Reduce rotation rate and replace filter.
Of course, reduce rotation rate.
Okay. Reduce rotation rate or increase cleaning time. For me, it sounds like cleaning time is a little bit easier, but there might be some other considerations as well. Reduce rotation rate, increase rinsing time, kind of the same.
Let's take time.
Okay. Replace filter versus increase rinsing time. I think, again, time is winning. It's much easier to do that, much easier to verify. Same, but cleaning time. And in this case, we're done. You know, if we're going back to the brainstorming, now we have these ideas also ranked, and the ones that with the highest rank will be closer to the center. So, and if we repeat that for different groups in here, all of the ones with the highest rank going to be closest to the center. So imagine yourself, we don't have, 12 of them here or 11, but we have hundreds, right? Of course, finding a highest ranking idea in this big pile of nodes is pretty hard. So this is why we put all of these highest ranking nodes close to the center, because this is what we need to concentrate our thinking about, and this is where we need to concentrate our work for. Of course, we can repeat the ranking for this group. We can rank other groups as well. So let's do, let's go for the not easy and not easy part. Kind of the same concept, is just 3 pairs in here. So train stuff, add another filter. I would go for the train stuff, even though it's harder. Check and adjust pressure of chemistry, or add another filter.
Pressure or chemistry.
I would say chemistry, because if add another filter, that's coming from manufacturer. Why would we fight with that, right? Train stuff and adjust pressure. Well, adjust pressure is probably faster and easier as of right now to solve the particular problem. And we're getting, again, the ranking result. And if we're going back to this picture, apologies. If we're going back to this picture, now we have these ranks also available for not easy to implement and not easy to verify, to validate. And of course, in this case, check and adjust pressure is probably something that if we even gonna do anything within this group, we should attend this first.
Now I would like to add regarding the groups. For instance, what does it mean easy to implement, easy to validate? It means it's fast report out. Maybe not easy to implement and not easy to validate. Maybe it's fantastic solution and this is what you need, but you should explain to your managers that it will take time, it will take money, and it's not easy. And if you need fast report, you go to the green stickers, and so on, so on.
Yeah. Also, during this process, this process could be, it's a breathing process. The group is there, the group is constantly thinking about potentially even more ideas. And even if we at this stage, somebody might think about, oh, there's something else, something else that we can do, right? And we can again put it in a group of whatever, easy and easy. It is already in here. It's not ranked, right? But even in this case, we can go and dive into the ranking again, and now rank it among the 5 different groups, 5 different ideas. Saying we can remove ideas. So it is a breathing exercise. It's not potentially never ending exercise. Something that can stimulate and generate more and more ideas, and on the way also analyze them and group them. But as defined initially in the original brainstorming rules, limited with time, right? So we should be limiting the brainstorming sessions on with time, because otherwise it's endless. And I think that's it. Of course,
no, I would say, I'm sorry, I would
Mhm.
show that it will appear in the report.
Yes, of course. So something that I started mentioning during this whole exercise, we want to we can potentially record the ideas for the overall project. You know, we decided to take on the increased cleaning time. Okay, we can record it as an idea, as an overall idea for the projects, and all of these ideas going to appear here. And of course, the report will include everything, including our little brainstorming tool that we just worked on. Of course, it's going to be, I believe it's going to be the last one. Yeah. Right. So that's the brainstorming, effective brainstorming tool, or instance, as we call it, that we just worked on. So again, here's the ideas that we get generated with their ranking. That's the last one that I just added without rank, of course. That's the not easy and not easy, which also ranked. So the report is all, the brainstorming session also becomes part of the report. Any
Alex,
questions?
do you see someone is, Sergio is asking question. Sergio, could you say, could you ask?
Yes, sorry. Validation is about the difficulty of testing the effectiveness of the solution.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, validation is how fast you can see the result of whatever you decided to change, or how easy is it to validate that your change was effective.
Okay.
Right. It could be just over time. You know, it could be easy, but still takes time. You know, it takes 5 weeks until we see the result. I would say that's still in the group of not easy, right? Mm-hmm. It could be very fast, but very hard to verify. You know, you need to go into the system and pull the results and whatever that means.
And still, you don't know how effective is it working?
And you still not know. So exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yuli, what do you say?
Oh, that's a good question.
It is. Here's the thing. It isn't easy. Well, I should say, on the surface, it looks like an easy tool if we know what to do. And if there is any process that put in place around what to do. Usually, the difficulty with brainstorming is there are great tools out there, like Miro, like many others. And you collect these ideas with many people. It's very interactive, very nice. But now what you do with all of these ideas, and unfortunately, there's very little done in terms of putting the process in place. How do you work with these pile of ideas that got generated? How do you even decide which one to start with? Right. And this is what we try to answer here.
Sure.
I have another question about the cost of the implementation of an idea. It's inside if something takes a lot of time to be implemented, does it is that summarized as hard to implement? Time or high cost, easy to implement, but it costs a lot.
It is very subjective. Same as the round robin ranking comparison. Different people will compare it based on their own parameters, right? Same with the cost. If for the organization that trying to solve a particular problem, high costs is also a problem. It means it's hard for them to pay that cost, right? Mm-hmm. So it's very subjective, and the criteria by which you're deciding what is hard and what is not for both implementation and validation. So implementation is a little bit, validation is a little bit easier because you just, whether or not you see the result in some way. The implementation is, like you're saying, it could include cost, it could include time, it could include just pure difficulty. It could mean that now we need to pull 20 people together to implement that versus one single engineer can do that, which kind of lines up with the cost as well. So it's very subjective. All of these tools, all of these creative thinking tools, it's a thinking tool. There is a reason for that name in tool. It depends what the group is. What is it important for the group, for the company, for the use case?
Just to give you a real example of today, we have a solution that I can't say too much, but that okay. It's easy to implement if you buy 1 million equipment to create temperature around absolute zero. Right. But it's very easy because the equipment is easy to find and to buy. Just it's a pure problem of money.
Right, but then it pulls the next question: is it easy to fund?
Yeah, maybe top manager should approve it, and it's not easy to get approval from him.
Right. Okay. So ease of funding, it's also easy or not, because now, for example, you as a lead of this project, now you need to go to the management and say, hey guys, just to verify that you need to spend $1 million bucks.
$1 million, right? Is the revenue of I think 2 hours for that company, but they are complaining about that investment.
Of course they do, but that's a normal case. So again, the ease of implementation in this case, it's very subjective about the use case, the organization, the people you're working with, and so on. That's why it's a very loose definition, right? It's a group discussion because, again, somebody, like we discussed about the filter changing, somebody changed the filter 50 times in the last week. For him, it's nothing. It's a 5 minutes work. For somebody else who never did it, it's hard.
Oliver, ask your question, please, because
Yeah, I
before-
mean, this gonna go in a little detail in Sergio's particular project and problem, but I just wanted to clarify there with the, so you got something going on where you need to make something really, really cold, and it's gonna cost you $1 million for that piece of equipment to make it cold. But I wanted to clarify, when you buy that equipment, will you be sure that your problem is solved, or would you first need to buy the equipment to find out if it's gonna work or not?
As I wrote, I'm
Before-
sure,
Oh, you just wrote
or
it.
at least I hope. Otherwise, I will kill me.
Ah, okay, okay. So
No,
can you, is
I'm pretty
there,
sure, and we can test with not a big money.
Right,
But
so
I'm
maybe
pretty sure
there's,
it works.
maybe there is a possibility for some smaller pilot that can be tried on, not necessarily, buying big additional equipment, but do it in like lab size trials.
right, or rent the equipment somewhere, something where
Or rent
you
the
spend a
equipment.
fraction of the cost to at least validate the solution. But it sounds like you're pretty sure it's a valid solution. It's just a super duper expensive solution.
Might be, yeah.
But again, think about it this way: making a mistake in this space could cost you $1 million.
You know what's important? Brainstorming, this is not of the beginning of the project. You should jump into a brainstorming when you know something about your problem, about your system. I would say you should describe your problem. Maybe you should start with cause and effect chain. We will talk next webinar about cause and effect chain. Maybe you should create functional modeling in order to learn how your system is working. And after that, to start brainstorm the problem. This is what also important. So
Right.
therefore, we have 10 tools, not
There is there the possibility, for example, when you judge a solution as difficult to implement, for example, to write down why, because sometimes in my normal job, when something is stated by the group, I found very useful to write down why. For example, we state that is hard to be implemented.
I would add it into, yeah, you can add it into.
I mean, you can add it into the note. There is no
Yeah.
limit of how much you can write in
Okay.
here. You can put. I think there is no limit. There's
Because sometimes
lot that you
it's
can put in
easier
here.
to check if the why is correct or not. Maybe
Yeah.
the day after, but it's important to write down. And this I would not say that turns subjectivity in objectivity, but goes closer to objectivity. You are telling me that, in your opinion, it's hard to implement. Tell me why.
Yeah, which is fine. Again, these notes, you can put anything in there. You can put the
Yep.
the why, the whys. It could be any story that you need in that particular note. Right? There is no limits to that, really.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
For a
sure,
visual point
Alexander.
of view, I would like, for example, to have the whys just in a layer behind the title of the solution, just to maintain clean the system. But obviously, if you have
Okay.
no limitation
That's interesting.
about.
By the way, you can assign task and said, I still need some additional information to understand, increase the rinsing time. Is it easy or not easy? And assign it to someone, and he will work on it and give you answer. It could be a session for a couple of days. Nothing to do with it.
Or even more.
Even more.
To evaluate a project, it sometimes takes time, and that's okay.
Alexander asked for question. Please.
Yes, thank you, Anatoly. And it's probably to you and to Alex as well. So, I mean, how you see the relationship between brainstorming, and of course, it's very good that you kind of trying to improve this by ranking and by putting some more helpful tools here. But how you see the relationship of all of this to the PRIZ idea that brainstorming is not very efficient in terms of breaking psychological, barriers, right? And PRIZ proposing some different things, how to try to find ideas, right? So what is your opinion about the relationship between brainstorming per se and PRIZ recommendations or ideas in this regard?
I can try and answer that.
Alex. Yeah, sure.
So first of all, I mean, PRIZ is great. I'm not saying it is not. But there is a reason why we called PRIZ, which is a practical practice of problem solving. And we adopting some of the PRIZ tools as they are. We're adopting some others that not part of PRIZ, but they all target this for one purpose: to solve problems and eventually innovate, right? So to answer that question more precisely, we're not necessarily following PRIZ methodology per se, right? We're adopting some of it. We're not following to the exact dot. And we decided that brainstorming, being so popular but still having problem within itself, is a very useful tool, and many people use it. Many people think they know how to use it and how to use it effectively. We just try to make it a little bit easier to use and put a structure on it. Does that answer
Okay,
your
yes,
question?
no, it's good, good answer. Yes, thank you. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's a good improvement, of course. So, yes, thank you for webinar.
Yeah, we're a little bit over time. There's some other chat.
Oh,
Yeah,
I just want to say,
already.
I think your platform is really well designed, and how you took us through that today, how you could easily drag and drop a sticky note to recategorize it. I think that's a great feature. And overall, how those tools integrate one into the next as well, I think is great, especially that it's called the Robin ranking or something like that, right? So you just click a
round
button,
robin ranking.
and
Yeah.
then it takes you to the ranking. I think that's fantastic. So keep up the good job on the platform. I really like it. It's well
you.
integrated. It's, it's got all
Thank
those
you for the
different areas,
feedback.
and then it creates a report at the end. It's like so good.
Yep, and engineers hate writing a report. Engineers want to click a button and say, here you go.
Yeah.
Okay. If there is any other questions, if there's no any other questions, we'll let you go, and thank you for your time. And we will meet next time, and I believe it would be about
Root cause analysis.
root cause analysis overall.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.